Here's the trick. I don't know what your mission is, and perhaps, if you have a yoga studio and you're trying to craft something together, you feel like you have a teaching mission and you'd like to do that, but money is the issue. I completely understand. I was there before you were born. And I was working two day jobs to keep my night job going. So I think creating, whether it's a yoga, creating a spiritual community takes enormous devotion and dedication. It takes attention to the cash flow. And my own feeling is, my experience has been, if you really work with devotion and it's not about the money for you, then somehow, for the last 47 years, every month, our bank balance is zero at the beginning of the month. And every month at the end, our bank balance is zero, obviously. And somehow in the middle, cash flows and we're still here. And in the process of that experience, assets accrete, assets build up, and you have some value in your event. So the issue of the mantra of stupidity coming into this point is, if you doubt your mission, then you have no chance. No chance. When I came back from New York, this was in 1971. Some of your parents probably weren't even born then. But when I came back from New York, I literally had $5 in my pocket. I had $5. I had one pair of blue jeans. I had a Boy Scout pack. I had my fraternity blanket that I had dragged with me to New York. I had an air mattress I bought from an Army surplus store on St. Mark's Place in Manhattan, back in the days when Army surplus stores could afford to pay the rent on St. Mark's Place. I had nothing. I had a insulated sweatshirt for a coat. I had one pair of work boots. And the other thing I had was a total devotion to my guru and a profound commitment to fulfill his instruction to me. When this whole thing about my moving back to Indiana started, Rudy began with saying to me one day on a walk, we used to walk together early in the mornings, he said, I've been thinking about sending you to Big Indian. That was our place in the Catskills, which I really didn't like at all. I still don't like the Catskills. I think it is a dark and dreary-ass place, and you couldn't get me to go there unless my mother was held captive, had been kidnapped and taken there, and she's deceased. So I said to Rudy, well, look, if you're going to put me out, shouldn't I get a promotion? I don't want to go to jail, which was what Big Indian was to me. So he said, okay. And he decided I should go back to Bloomington, where I came from, and where by then about more than a dozen people had followed me from Bloomington, most of whom were staying in Big Indian at the time. And so I went to him after he decided this, I went to him and I said, Rudy, if I'm going to like start an ashram in Bloomington, I'm going to need some money. And Rudy looked at me and he said, Michael, any schmuck can do it with money. And he was, of course, completely true. And I understood that Rudy was instructing me to rest my effort in the flow of my own devotion and creative energy. And I did. So the issue for me is never money. Ever. The issue is commitment and flexibility. So, just do it. If you have a class, if you're starting something and you have a class and nobody shows up, do your practice. And just do your practice. Do your practice and people will come. Just do your practice. Do your practice with love and devotion and focus, and it will happen. When I started doing yoga, many of the exact same social issues and economic and political issues were happening in the United States. It was, the late 60s. The Kennedys and Martin Luther King had been assassinated. The Vietnam War was happening. There were many civil rights protests across the country. Women were starting to figure out a little bit better who they were and what their own independent creative energy was about. Television was happening. Corporations were starting. One of the big moves was that corporations were starting to devour each other. And conglomerates were starting to happen. The economy was starting to get consolidated. And the whole event was very distressing to me. And the way that the way it worked out was I understood that before I could do anything to help anybody else, I had to do something to help myself. And that's where my practice came. And doing that practice with intense focus and great devotion, the strange thing is I met Rudy in a few months. And you really literally couldn't get from where I was to where he was. So I don't think it's about money. I think it's about the quality of caring and devotion that you bring to your work every day. And if you're teaching yoga to make money, I can tell you right now, and pardon my colloquialisms, you're out of your fucking mind. We're not doing this for money. I hope some of you make money doing this. But the fact of the matter is, we train, well, less this year, but we generally on average do about 30 people a year here. And none of them make money, ever. So we're doing this to change ourselves. This is an investment in our own growth. And then the next step in that growth is when you understand that you're in this world not to get something, a notion that is lost on most people. You are in this world to give. On every level. And so doing your yoga and teaching yoga as an expression of your wish to grow and your willingness to serve transforms your work, and you will definitely grow, and you'll definitely succeed in the important areas that you need to succeed. And if you have to take an extra job every now and then, we didn't start this place with the idea we were going to make money. When we started this place, I started a vegetarian restaurant, which spun out, which also developed into a bakery, which developed into a construction company, and a painting business, and I had an Oriental art gallery. We had a stained glass gallery. I've been in at least 2 businesses, plus teaching, for the whole time. And I am personally, by far and away, and don't get me wrong, with the support of the people who attend to the work that needs to be done here, but I'm by far and away, by multiple times, orders of magnitude, the biggest donor to this place. So, which we've done as an expression of our understanding, our experience of the beauty that was present in the company of my teacher, Rudy, the beauty I experienced in my company with Rudy, and the extraordinary quality that I think our practice embodies. So, when you are really committed to growing, and that's what you choose to do with your life, then the resources that are appropriate to your effort will become available to you. They will become available to you from within yourself, although sometimes it'll look like it walked in the door. But you have to be committed. And if spirituality is about transforming your mind and your emotions and ultimately awakening and fulfilling your own soul, and it's not so easy. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's not a lot of that walking around on the streets out there. And the reason why there's not a lot of it walking around on the streets out there is because it's work. It's hard. It's hard when you're tired and you're frustrated and you're completely annoyed with people who had promised to support you bailing on you constantly. It's hard to keep your heart open. But that's what we do. There are unimaginable, and I'm not joking, I'm not kidding. I look around the room. The place I grew up in both, the Catholic, I should say, intensely Catholic family that I grew up in, and the little tiny and very dark town that I grew up in, is not something any of you guys have had to experience much of. And I always feel like if I can do this, if the possibilities that have expressed themselves, that we have realized in this life, are available to me, then anybody can do this. It just takes devotion, real devotion, and doing it. And I think all of you have unbelievable possibilities in front of you. And the issue is, are you going to reach deeply enough within yourself and hold the space long enough that miracles can start to pop out of you? Are you gonna?